like my daughter's going to her second year of college, so it's just a little bit different.
Absolutely. Each year there's something a little different that
Yes,
pops up.
my neighbor was, Mom, they ran out of housing, so.
I'm sorry, what?
They ran out of housing, and we can't go to work, so I have to get a place on campus.
Oh.
This is in Ann Arbor, and it's expensive. And she's like, well, I found a place, but I need a co-sign for this, I don't make any money.
Oh.
Well, I have to.
I know, that's
Right.
But you know how much each child is paying, so it's one of those, it's really nice, and there's like 4 rooms, and.
Are they sharing
furnished? No.
They're not, okay.
It's a townhouse, it's got a basement.
Wow. She's gonna, that's
Probably
gonna
like the woods.
be, yeah, oh.
They
Sounds
have all
nice.
the, utensils
I
and
didn't know
kitchen
that.
supplies already in there, and I'm like, oh my god, it's like, I was like, cha-ching.
Right.
And I'm like, so new. Oh, it's pretty good, if you consider, what's the number? Per kid.
I was gonna say 1,200.
Yeah,
And where is this?
In Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Michigan.
Yeah,
yeah, so it's all pretty.
Yeah.
It's move-in ready.
yeah, well, which is good.
Like, somebody probably bought it like a few years ago.
And-
I was just trying to
Right,
think.
okay, but
I-
even
for some
brand
reason,
new, so
400
probably they're
sticks out to
$2,000
me,
because
so-
all the kids.
So it's
Yeah,
1,600.
yeah.
This is 400 per.
So we're trying to remove.
I was gonna
like,
say, what
where it's
business
like
does that
college,
make you
the
get
roads
into?
are- I think it was 400 a month. Yeah, which
The
makes
4 of
sense.
us lived in an apartment together, so.
Yeah,
it was-
but it was like that,
$16.
we're gonna have, we're gonna have bathroom, kitchen,
Oh.
whole thing.
Oh, this is also gonna be live stream, so we're live.
I can remove.
It'll be on our show, yes, please you. So everybody knows.
So knowing what you know now, that makes you wanna buy a house over there.
Commercial, right, they're still kind of, there is beginning.
Right number.
I've got so many people on my phone talking about who did they talk to?
You're a good man, you help everybody else.
Yes. Try and, you know, do unto others.
Well, if they go down, that could be very costly,
Well, yeah, they just eat, and there's, even though the gas that goes to the English, gas, there's those regulations about it, and those rules, requiring monitoring. It's like, oh, so they just leak, and eventually they don't stop working. So, if the refrigerator's not working as well, trying to get it, and then like, oh, hey, we should go fix this.
the meeting is
So she's not.
yeah,
Wait, what time is the event? What time?
Technically it goes to.
How do you get
7:46 at and so I think you're going to stick around after and after.
Yeah, that's wrong.
So, it's up to you.
Yeah. Is that a big hotel or are you? Okay.
It's just, you know, you've been here before, there's little business hotels.
Okay.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That has a lot of what I focus on.
You'll walk in, and then the first hall in the right.
Yeah.
It's a lot
I always do.
It's more expensive research to help you direct you to where your answer is. A lot of
No, he's like I said, very fun.
Oh, it's not working. Because I was sitting here like 2 years. And then you move to.
Oh, I stay there for the rest of the year.
Right. No,
Try to do this. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Sorry to interrupt the amazing conversation. In case you didn't. My name is 𝗧𝗵𝗲, I'm the community manager with Startup Vegas, who is hosting this event today. And Startup Vegas, if you're not familiar, if this is your first event or you haven't been here in a while, we are a nonprofit organization that's really focused on bringing together the startup community so that we could, provide opportunities for connection and education. Just take pictures. Opportunities for education and connection throughout Las Vegas. So welcome, we're really glad that you're here. RiseUp is a really interesting event. So it was born out of wanting to have an event for women, but it was always like an event that's open to everybody. So if you're not a woman or identify as a woman, that's cool. We want you here, that's awesome. We still have great topics. And we do this event about quarterly at the WeWork Summerlin. So if you've been to other events for Startup Vegas, we're always in the town square, but this gives us a nice little change of pace. And as always, we have great food. So if you haven't checked it, please check it. What was it, Fabulous Business Idea? That's his new name. He asked me what FBI stood for, and I was like, Federal Bureau of Investigation, like, no. And finally, after going through all these lovely options, it was a fabulous business idea, right?
That's right.
So it's a good habit. Anyway, I'm very excited today because we wanted to have a conversation about AI, right? We're all hearing about it, we're reading about it, so much going on. We've got two people today, Tara and Sarah, who I'll have them give a more fulsome introduction later. But we also want to hear from all of you because AI is touching everything, everyone, all of our work, all of our business, our personal lives, our kids' homework, whatever. So there's so much stuff to be had. That's why we wanted to have kind of a different setup for the room. We wanted it to be more conversational and less classroom style. So first I'm going to allow Tara and Sarah to introduce themselves and their amazing expertise and their connection to AI. And then we're going to go around the table and I'll give very specific instructions because it will be brief. And then we'll kick off our conversation. So thank you for being here, and Tara, let's start with you.
My name is 𝗧𝗵𝗲 𝗫𝗀. I am the managing director for 𝗥𝗶𝘀𝗲𝗨𝗽 Strategies. We are an AI digital marketing consulting firm. I also run a meetup group here in town. We've been running it for the last 8 months called 𝗥𝗶𝘀𝗲 AI Digital Marketing. I will bring it some names next week. And I have had a wonderful opportunity to be able to engage with literally hundreds of small business owners and solopreneurs and entrepreneurs. And my expectations around what I thought they knew about AI and what I had hoped to share with them was dramatically different once we started running this. So I take that under my belt, and part of our conversation today will be able to share the realities of the hype versus the reality for our community.
Thank you. I'm Sarah Evans. I'm the CEO of 𝗧𝗵𝗲 PR. We're a global tech PR agency. We specialize in B2B enterprise tech, but that said, we kind of run the gamut. I'm also a national correspondent as a consumer tech expert on all sorts of fun programs, and have lived in Las Vegas for the past 12 years, and we love it. And I'm the mom of 2.
Awesome. So we want to hear about who you are, but we also understand we don't want this to turn into like, hi, this is cats. I have to go. Anyway, okay. So the introduction is, who are you and what made you want to come today and what do you hope to get out of our conversation? So we won't do popcorn because I think that'll be whatever, but I'm going to start with Sarah. And then we'll go around this way, obviously, Tara and Sarah.
So my name is 𝗧𝗵𝗲 𝗫𝗀. I am the founder of 𝗥𝗶𝘀𝗲𝗨𝗽. So I've been in the data space for over almost 30 years. And I've been following AI for as long as it's, well, at least in the last 10 years and so forth, as an industrial statistician. So it's from my perspective, AI is just a continuation of statistics, big data, advanced analytics, AI, Gen AI, and it's just basically, there's a lot of great things going on, and I still see a lot of the same cultural issues that I saw 30 years ago. So I come from the tech space. I just exited out of Intel Corporation to start my own business. So it's a little bit about me.
Noah Carson. I'm a business operations consultant, mainly focusing on helping startups implement the internal tools and processes to enable them to scale and manage growth. And over the last year or two, AI is becoming more and more of a part of this, and I've been investigating more beyond kind of just the tools that we all hear about and how enterprises can leverage their data to grow and optimize. So, thanks.
Hi, my name is 𝗧𝗵𝗲, co-founder of Evolution. We're an influencer marketing platform for hospitality and travel. And just like Jennifer said, AI is being part of every conversation now, and we're starting to utilize AI for marketing for our own company. So definitely want to learn more. And just moved to Vegas about 8-9 months ago, and so love to be part of the community.
My name is 𝗧𝗵𝗲. I'm actually a student at UNLV, but I'm a senior this year, so I'm interested in getting into the tech industry and learning more about it. I was with the 𝗧𝗵𝗲 host committee when I was here, but it's over in February. So then I did some consulting after, so I'm really just interested in learning more about AI and from all of you.
Hey, I'm 𝗧𝗵𝗲. I am a social media strategist and communications professional, and also currently work as a contractor at Sphere as a robotics operations manager. The reason I came here today is because I am still very new when it comes to learning about a lot of this stuff, especially as it applies to social media. So I just want to be here to learn about this.
Hi, I'm 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗃. I'm the Director of Education at a software company called 𝗧𝗵𝗃. And I am brand new to Vegas in the 1 year mark. Spent a lot of time in Columbus, Ohio, and in their entrepreneur ecosystem. So just trying to get more involved in the ecosystem here. Learn more about AI because we just did a partnership with Microsoft to include 𝗨𝗨𝗽 in our software to help insurance companies process claims. And so just like some response.
I'm Angelo Bino. It's kind of a different space. We're in the gaming space, my brother and I. And I attend these events. I always like to meet folks and figure out what folks are doing in different industries and see maybe if I can work together with anybody. Good to meet you all.
All right. My name is 𝗧𝗵𝗲, FBI today, stands for Fabulous Business Idea. And I'm a professional photo and video guy. I've been doing that for 20 plus years. Prior to that, I was in the tech industry and I did C++ coding for a little company called Autodesk. You may have heard of it. They make AutoCAD and a bunch of other stuff. And I am very interested in AI. I actually played one of the first AI games. So if you'd like to hear about that later, talk to me about that. It was back when I was about this high. And yeah, I'd love to talk about it.
Heather Moore, I'm here kind of in two capacities. So I'm a business banker currently with the SBA as well. So I've done a lot of these events, you know. But we are also, my husband and I, launching our company. It's all incorporated now, which is a promotional company that deals with Indian casinos and tribal gaming. So for me, I'm at the point of, we've got to launch this website, and I'm used to having all my data given to me by corporations with banks, so now I have to learn everything from scratch on our site. That's why.
My name is Alicia Mejia. Nice to meet everyone. I'm here wearing multiple hats. I work on the event side with Startup Vegas and super pro, all things pro tech in Vegas. Also working on my own platform, building a platform that offers community goods and services to the romantically broken-hearted on their path. On a mission to raise the vibration of love on the planet. So my interest in being here with the whole AI thing is also part of that as well, just to see how best to use these things, platform related, both on input and on output. So excited.
Well, you guys know who I am, but one of the reasons I was really excited about this topic is because it's just, it's one of those things like, but I remember when the internet came along, and it has that kind of same feel, right? It's this big thing. And in the beginning, like nobody, it's big, it's important, and nobody quite knows what it is, sort of, kind of, but some people know. And then now some people are using it, it was weird, and it works, and it doesn't. And I feel like it's the same thing. And if you think about how revolutionary the internet has been for everyone on this planet, I think AI has that same trajectory. So I'm really excited to have the conversation. So one of the ways I want to kick off, and I'm going to start with our two experts, is one word or phrase, and you guys can shout this out after they go, because they're experts. AI is, and just finish that sentence.
Brain amplified.
This is terrible. The first thing that comes to mind is overhyped.
Overhyped. Okay. That's very fair. Call it out. Maybe it's scary, maybe it's fun, maybe it's like, I don't know. I mean,
misunderstood. I would say misunderstood.
Unified?
freaking cool.
Yeah.
That's 2 words, but we'll allow it.
I said pretty nice.
No, I'm not sure.
Tip of the iceberg.
Synergistic.
We're using the GRE words.
Sorry. I was going to productivity, but then I was like, no, it doesn't really say, and I'm like, synergistic.
No, first of all, I'm a teaser and I want us to have fun, so please don't bring it up in front of anybody. And I love Sarah.
That was good.
I think that's a compliment.
To be honest, what comes to my mind is scary because with all of its potential, there's also potential misuse.
Yes.
And so we don't know what we don't know yet, right? And I grew up under the Terminator age, so come on.
Yeah, Terminator, iRobot, they're all the other ones.
Exactly.
I'm gonna throw out another one, misunderstood.
Yeah, I think the follow-up to that though, Jennifer, is what everybody's sort of talking about here is there are gaps in our understanding of what this particular tool is. Nothing personal against the media, but the
I don't work for them.
but the focus has been on the storylines have been primarily around our big high-tech organizations, right? So the Microsofts and the NVIDIAs and the 𝗥𝗶𝘀𝗲𝗽 and all of the other tools, right? And then those of us who are on the receiving end of, well, I use that thing, what are they doing that's going to impact me and my role? Whether you're in a professional role working for one of those corporations, and I've heard from people who work with Microsoft who have said they roll out the tools and they did a terrible job even internally for the companies supposed to be promoting it, right? To those of us who are entrepreneurs and solopreneurs who are trying to figure out, how do I use this tool? They didn't do a lot of good education. They're still struggling with that. NVIDIA just released, I think it was about a week ago, that they decided how to work with the state of California to educate teachers. And I did a course where a couple months back where I taught 4th and 5th graders. I went in and I did a presentation to the STEM students. I'm more intimidating than all of you here. Because when I got done with the presentation, now I don't know about you all, but I didn't have a laptop when I was in 4th grade, right? So I get done with the presentation, all the students like throw open their laptop, go right to GTP to the students next to them who haven't had that, right? They're going, oh, here's how you do it. The no fear factor, and got on there and said, okay, I want to create my own story. And, the teacher's yelling, make sure you include a subject and the action. But that whole disconnect that we have, which is, this is what I know today about the internet, how to use Google, etc. But now you're asking me to use a completely different tool. There's literally millions of courses that are out there, right? And how do you assimilate all that is a challenge.
Well, I'm curious because you mentioned that you did this talk for 4th and 5th graders. What were the key things that you told them? So we're kind of, in the room, there's multiple different understandings, but we're in a way 4th and 5th graders. Technology. What were,
the key elements of it is that this tool, don't do your homework completely on the tool, which is the analogy. I know that there's the conversation of AI is going to take over and human beings are going to disappear. We're probably a long ways away. And there are still going to be certain roles and industries that human beings will not be entirely replaced. You can't do hospice, right? Hospice as an example, certain elements of healthcare, et cetera. It's great for the analysis, but I don't know about you. I'm still going to take my advice from the human doctor, at least during my lifetime, right? So it's generational. Things will change over time, but I think that was one aspect, is that you're a human in the loop with this tool, you're engaging with the tool, so use it to learn. Use it for good, which in a kid's case was, in our case would be use it ethically, right? One of the kids actually did ask, can I use this to do all of my homework? We said,
Yes, but no.
Good, but I don't want to do that. Teacher probably doing that to you, right? But also make sure that your parents are aware of how you're using it, et cetera. Because one question I did ask them that seemed to be all aware of was, is everything on the internet true? And all of them universally said no. Like, at least they have that awareness in 4th grade, right? So if this tool is based on the information from the internet, be careful about what you get back, right? And so there's that element. And I thought that was intriguing that all of them immediately said, no, it's not. But what I did like about that experience was the fearlessness of being able to try it out. To not be fearful of, I'm gonna open my laptop and I'm gonna create my own story and it's gonna have what we would consider weird parameters. I mean, when class created, we were like, yeah, let's create an image. It was a giant McDonald's chicken nugget. Riding a unicorn, right? In the desert with pink flowers. And those were all elements that I, of course, solicited from them, and that's what they decided. And it created a really great image, right? And then it wrote a subsequent story, which we read. So, Gen AI, the tool itself, in terms of creation for text and images, that's why I approached marketing first as a niche, because you can't really break anything, right? Don't use it carte blanche. It can't really break anything. The development tools and some of those other areas, which you're doing it is data analysis on that, business functions, that's a little scarier, right? You make the wrong turn there and head down a direction you don't want to. But I think for most of us who are trying to just get started, that's a great entry point, which is give it a shot, right? See what you can create and tweak, and that's part of the marketing club and the groups that I work with.
And I think what, maybe the essence of what you're saying, I'm gonna take the same example and say my 8th grade son has been my greatest case study, not the enterprise level clients, because we really focused on since last year this year is prompt engineering. How to use ChatGPT ethically, but also to supplement what you're doing. And from the big kind of macro scope for a digital marketing agency on both our lo-fi and hi-fi sides of things, we are using AI almost at the same level I'm teaching him, just more formal. And you had talked a lot when we were, before it started, just about kind of developing this master's in prompt engineering. The same template can apply if you can learn and teach yourself that, whether you're doing marketing for a new business or how to pull in data from Microsoft Copilot to do something with that, knowing those elements are the most essential pieces. And we can always get that granular if you want to talk through those, but that's really what you have to do, I think, as a step 1, 4th, 5th, 8th grader.
Can you give an example, Sarah, in your work where you have changed one of your business practices? Just one.
Oh my gosh,
So that you can
yes.
get, understand concretely.
So
hold on to.
our whole business has changed in the past 5 years, I'd say, because of AI. There's an article coming out in a few days on 𝗥𝗶𝘀𝗶, which is a big tool for PR folks, and I had to give my top 10 prompts for things that have changed. I would even say the way, okay, here's actual case study. We changed the way that we do personalized pitching to journalists using AI to help expedite the number of pitches we can get out ethically. We never blast pitch. We don't have a list of 100 people who are sending the same thing. Everything is hand curated, personalized, written for their beat. And we've been able to, in the past month, secure, let's say, was as of 2010 tier 1 podcasts for one of our clients, whereas in the past it would have taken a whole year, maybe, to secure that. And we were able to use a combination of prompts, research, popping in their last 4 or 5 guests. We had all these different things we were able to pop into AI to give us more tailored pitches, but also using specific software to do that. Does that make sense? So it's completely changed. Like that just wasn't possible. It is now expedited. I always joke, I'm like, I'm doing the work of 20 people and everyone on our team is too.
That piece of it I think is fascinating as well, because I think when one of the things that I like about this is that when we learn the framework and the structures to it, it seems like that we can lift it up and set it on a different.
Yes.
Because when I hear you say that, I go, we're coming into fundraising season.
Yes.
And we're trying to like do that, but there's also, we still need to be running tracks where we're getting on the podcast and doing things to raise our own visibility, but to be able to use that to do personalized outreach to investors.
I'll say I need to keep it, you know what I follow, the art thing, I love reading Axios, big fan of their template, their style, so we've trained our AI to write the Axios style pitches, and that has seen an increased success in landing. So we just, you know, we'll put that in the next thing, and we know if it works, it's like our own A/B testing, but we can amplify and show an increase in result across whatever segment you're focused on.
Right. Which
And I was gonna say, this is really interesting because the weekend before last, I was at another startup weekend event. And part of that process is to build out a lean business canvas or your business canvas model. So for our team, our particular subject that we had, we were creating a recycling app. And I essentially created the prompt to fill out the entire business model. Now, they had allocated half the day for 4 hours to be able to fill all that out. And so I said, let's apply to this. And I said, here's what our business is, here's what our pieces are, type it in here, done in 3 minutes. All right. And then we just have to come back and edit. And then each piece of the startup process, we were using AI to prompt and build this out, which was phenomenal. As the mentors were coming, do you need any help? And building, we're like, we're done, right? Here's what it is. And obviously then, what's interesting is when you're starting all this up, it's so much easier to have the conversation, to edit back from something that you've already got and have somebody take a look at that. But also too, AI brought in these ideas and things that you're just, human nature, there's only so many things that we can keep in our head in terms of different opportunities or ideas, or what about, what would be my different models that if I wanted to work with a small media influencer, right? Give me all the different revenue models for that. And I'm like, I came up with 3 and it came up with 9, right? Kind of thing. So that's, it just was then when we were talking to other folks, they're like, how do you guys get done so quickly? And I was like, here's the prompt. And then other people were using it, but to your point, creating that model and then understanding how you can change variables within the prompting and the analysis for it was just phenomenal. It's the same thing as well as like setting up a website. My son wanted to have one set up. He's going into recruiting. I said, okay, download the template, and it's basically done using AI to create all that content.
It's the brain amplified. That's what we always call it. As we say, like,
He's like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
It's just practice.
So taking notes on
So, what I love is basically you just kind of summarize, gave examples of what I mean by synergistic. As a statistician, working with clients and trying to figure out kind of how do you get a competitive advantage, it's a lot of like defining the question that you want to answer, the business question that you want to answer, and then just trying to go get data. What's great about Gen AI is you can iterate on the questions, because it's essentially prompt engineering, or that prompt is let me ask this question, let me see what the answer is. It's the same thing of going and get, asking what question, go and get data on it, but now you get something that's a little bit more in human form, and you can iterate, and then that iteration can help you hone kind of what those questions need to be, and getting the direction of answer that you want.
Yeah.
And that's
refinement.
The whole refinement allows you to do that. The quicker you can do that, the faster you can get your competitive advantage on. And I love this because, this is a demonstration of how to do this. It's harder in the data world because it's because data is just so abstract. But for us who've been working on it, it's not, but trying to translate it and give people, you know, analogies on it. I love the fact that, you know, Gen AI is doing that for us. But if you understand kind of how the models are trained and so forth behind it, that's where you don't see that. And that's kind of, it's kind of interesting to see that right now, this is an example of UX, user experience, that has been packaged to be able to utilize data or language. So
competitive advantage is something you could even think about or talk about now. Is like, how can you use it for competitive advantage? We're seeing it help us not just on that sheer level of media results, but landing clients, bringing in new biz, securing our own PR, and also mental health, because I feel like our brains are so active, at least, and I'm sure everyone's industry and ours, we're just constantly having to be strategists and therapists and lawyers. I feel like we play all the things to our clients, we can take back some of that with letting our second brains help us. But I would challenge all of you to think about where does it serve to help you with a competitive advantage. Yeah.
And if you want a really great book that kind of helps you getting an idea of, you know, where humans are always good in Excel and how computers are, it's a book called, I think it's 𝗧𝗵𝗲 𝗧𝗵𝗲. I have to go look it up, kind of what the subtitles are. But that's a really great book to kind of understand the framework of how to get what's good, just human, how to combine human machine and how to take machine and human. They actually had a couple of frameworks of like, here are examples of how to go leverage this. And this actually came out way before Gen AI came, so I think it came out in like 2018. This is a recent book. You didn't necessarily have all of the chats and going on, so.
So let's talk about that a little bit, like where, either where could you, and I'd love to hear from the peanut gallery, I mean, our experts are awesome, you've been doing a great job, but where do you think you could utilize AI to build more capacity in your business or have a competitive advantage? What could that look like?
All right, so
All right. Well, I just, one of the ladies said something which made me think of a story which I want to share, because it definitely relates to our time right now with AI, because we've been here before. So I saw a video with Tony Hawk, the skateboard player, and he was talking about back when he was skating and before the internet, a thing called camcorders came out. And before that, it took a long time for tricks to be learned by the masses of skateboarders. And he said when VCR or camcorders came out, it gave everyone, all these skaters, the ability to start recording their tricks. And then people would be passing around VCR tapes and sharing them with each other. And now we have YouTube and AI. And he said when YouTube came online, the learning curve was like a hockey stick. It just went completely up. And that's how I relate AI and business people and us, you know, because now we've got these super tools that we can use. So it's kind of like when YouTube came out and it helped skateboarders. Now it's helping all of us just accelerate like everything we do.
So specifically, to be honest, so we're opening a competing business to the previous company my husband worked for. So industry he's been in for 20 years, right? We're right now in so I'm aware that they spent over $500,000 to get the technology and bring in an expert to get the lists, right? If you're talking, so what they do with promotional marketing is, you know, if you go to station casinos and you're the top gambler and you get all the perks, this is what they do. Well, you need to know if you're going into these properties, not only what that property's like gamblers are and how much they spend and what they're looking for, you also need to know the competitive casinos in the area and what they're offering for him. So for us, that would be an automatic no-brainer because we're going to need access to all of that. I mean, it's easy for him to go to his old clients, great. That's if we don't want to grow the company.
Is that, information public somewhere that you could get, or is that considered, okay?
Yeah,
It's
they can get it.
closed data.
No,
Okay,
they get it, that's just, that they brought this guy on and that's what he does for them.
okay, well, there you go.
You could do it without the.
Yeah, a startup, I can't pay someone 250,000 salary plus, like, it's not gonna happen.
But the data analytics on the back end, so I have a day job, my day job is with the coverage tracking, so I manage the world slot machines, land-based builds of the big slot machines. If you've ever walked into a casino, which I'm assuming most of you have, not all of you, and you see those very big 10-foot long, very fancy, ultimately computers is what they are, right? Regulated computers. I've worked on the teams that start from the inception of an idea, literally on a whiteboard, to the engineering builds and then the platform builds and games and all of that, right? That space of analytics is huge, right? And the data that every single transaction on those machines is tracked. You put your card in, it's even further tracked. So analyzing all of that and determining, product development, services development, literally where they place different games on the floor and why, and the psychology behind all of that kind of stuff, is the analysis of all of that data. What's interesting that I think that I found with AI data in general, and I've done it for myself, I do not recommend attaching your tax return and asking AI to do analysis, let's be fair, right? But it's very good at both structured data, which is in large part what your industry is, and unstructured data. So asking AI to say, hey, have you seen any irregular patterns or anything unusual in what would be a traditional bell curve out of this? And can you highlight that in your analysis? So often if you're asking for data back and you're trying to categorize things, it will come back and give you what you might predict for something that's structured. But if you have one of those or two of those three elements that all of a sudden are outside of that, it will quickly identify that for you. And I think Gen AI is where I usually start in text with most small businesses, because that other analytical stuff, it's incredibly powerful. Being able to have it do calculations, now don't take it verbatim, but I did some tax planning basically, and I asked AI to do it and asked all those questions and got a wonderful report and a report form. And then I sent it to my CPA and said, okay, would this be true for me? And I said, I just need to have you take a look at it, right? And he goes, call me back, we spent about 10 minutes, he goes, this is amazing, you did this. I'm like, I did with AI. And he goes, what? Because instead of meeting with him for an hour and paying for an hour of his time, I actually ran through about 14 different iterations of what that would be if I change this variable, I change that variable. So these are some of the things like in a small business, and I give an example. I had read an article, still looking to where that was, where there was a gentleman who was running a consistent shop. And they downloaded all of his data from Stripe. And when you traditionally think about that, you're like, oh, well, I just want to know what my revenue was. Well, they said, let's take a deeper look, right? So Stripe gives you literally the time and down to the second and what processor they used and what bank card, all that kind of stuff. The pattern that it came back with after looking at 3 months of sales was every other Friday when they offered Mediterranean pizza, they had an increased bump in sales on 2 hours on either side of that product. Why? Because people were buying chicken wings and garlic bread and salads and things that they normally wouldn't buy, right? What did that translate into? Well, an extra $400 or $500 a week. So then he added it and he essentially increased his revenue for a small business. Okay, it's $1,000 a month, but multiply that over, right? And that translates to more for his family. Those are the types of things that when you hear that story where it was like, you just ran Oh yeah, we downloaded it into a CSV file and then we attached it in ChatGPT. They had it sanitized so the company name wasn't there, like you wouldn't be able to search it and be like, Joe's Pizza down the corner, right? That's you find his data. But think about the applications of that for any business, right? If you have that kind of data and understand how to use.
And know how to sanitize and make sure you're
Right,
and make sure not all the credit card numbers are also.
Right, all that, that kind of stuff, right? But that's where I'm sure, those types of things for startups is like, in that space, the analytic capacity of the tool. And then the tool obviously to create code and development. For those of us who are doing websites, and I was like, oh yeah, how do I do the HTML code for this? Here's what I'm trying to do. And then it gives me back the code. I'm like, I don't know, when I was doing this 10 years ago, we were excited. And it was taking weeks to create a campaign in HTML. Seconds, literally now, right?
So let me ask, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of fantastic tools, and I'm just curious, when we're referring to AI and just Gen AI, are we basically talking about ChatGPT, or if there are other tools that are interesting, or I'm always curious to learn about them, but I would also say, I'm interested in also like the kind of weaknesses, the drawbacks. ChatGPT is, from my experience in testing it, it's pretty bad with math. It's a language model, not a math model. So there's interesting, it is good at finding trends, but it's just interesting that also knowing when you can't rely on it and other just kind of issues people have run into and drawbacks.
Definitely not just talking about ChatGPT. In fact, our team, we're always looking, if it's Claude, if it's Bard, whatever it is, the full suite of things. And now there are ways you can, like even in your Google search, and I'm talking about from a PR perspective, we're looking at if somebody is getting media, how is that impacting their AI snippet on Google? And now you can pay to have all of those AI subscriptions and get your results from that. So they all do something a little bit different. It depends on what you are particularly doing. And there are deficiencies across all of them. Internally, what we do at our organization is we have a specific Slack channel that's all dedicated to just AI and learnings. And everyone is appointed as an expert in some area or category. So one person's pure focus for AI is identifying deficiencies or things that could go wrong and flagging those for the team and doing an education session. Somebody else says here's one thing I found, a model where it identified the data, and here's an area that it does really well. So while I work in PR and we have a full service marketing team, so I might get impact from an SEO person or from the CFO who's looking at it as well. We're learning across the genre, but I don't have the specific list for you, but I guess if you appoint yourself maybe as your expert, like I am gonna learn about this, but I'm also gonna be an expert in deficiencies on mathematical equations for all of those pieces, dig in on that as your area.
To add to that, these models are basically probabilistic models, meaning that your answers are basically, there's always a chance. They're giving you from what we've learned over here, here's a high probability of what you actually want, right? So these models could be as, let's say, accurate as 98%. There's always going to be a 2% chance that they're going to be wrong or not necessarily have the right context. There's a lot of reasons why these models hallucinate. So you have to be thinking about that. It's all a bit about the data that it's seen. But Google and ChatGPT or Claude or all these, there are other things that you can do to help hone them so they're much more accurate on your own data. Specifically, if you're in PR, you probably uploaded a whole bunch of things that, there's a thing called RAD, which is, I can never remember what it, augmented generation. You can actually say, hey, here's all my PR collateral, here's kind of my style, and put it in and it augments the model so that you can get a little bit more accuracy out of that.
With personas.
Right, and personas and stuff.
For each client, by subject matter expert.
There's a whole layers type of stuff. The prompts are probably the most inefficient. Adding data into it and then, you know, creating your own models, which are really expensive options, but that's another thing if you think RAD is not something to have. But these are some things to be thinking about. And you really need to go back and say, where was this model trained on? And can I augment it with my own stuff so that we can get more accurate information?
I would say too, keeping in mind, right, I posted did a post on LinkedIn the other day. These models, Grok, 𝗏𝗏, what used to be BART, Copilot, ChatGPT. In my trainings, we use two. So we'll use ChatGPT and then we'll use 𝗏𝗏. And there's a distinctive difference. There's a lot of overlap. I actually prefer 𝗏𝗏 for content creation. I don't know, it flows much better. One of the other suggestions I would make as well, so I would say you should be trying different models, but ask the model what its shortcomings are. And you will get an answer back with respect to each one of those models. You know, where are your strengths, where are your weaknesses as a model, as a large language model, because I have had some success with ChatGPT, but then in others requests that I give it doesn't. It is not to your point, Sarah, it's programmed to be probabilistic, not accurate all the time, and so don't assume the accuracy. I think I had someone who was saying, hey, I asked it for a break-even model, and it assumed a break-even model for a product versus a service, and there's some nuances in that. So those are the types of things. Be careful what you ask for too. Oftentimes when I say people who are like, I need the result that I want, you're really asking the right question, right? And that's hard. That's using it every day and understanding what iterative is. And when I talk to people about when you're creating a prompt, change one variable at a time.
Yes.
Not multiple variables, because then you don't know what was that one thing that got you to that other answer. Also, too, if you find a prompt that you really like, I recommend that people run it through at least a couple of times. Often you'll find that the answer is not exactly the same for the same prompt that you put in.
That applies with code as well, because I've used it for code and
And it's kind of the way I like to frame things. Do you want software, a solution, or do you want an AI solution? Or software is programmed, so here's the set of inputs, these are the outputs you'll get every time. So if you're trying to send your employees paychecks every other Friday, it's probably better to use software versus AI, which most likely will give you this output. But AI is able to adapt and take in new considerations. So I think it's kind of
The other thing too is, I know Google has this in back end. I'm not sure how to do this in ChatGPT, but I'm sure you can put it into the prompt. But you can actually tell it, do you want to be more accurate or do you be more creative? They actually have a whole bunch of, at least in Google, they have 3 different like slide bars of, creativity and other aspects as well. So realize that these models can be modified and,
For ChatGPT, we do keep, like, if you're using this for your business, right now it's not super formal, but my sticky notes on my laptop, I have a bunch of personas there, so if I'm out of memory on ChatGPT versus 𝗏𝗏, I can just drop them in, because there isn't the slide bar, but I do have that, so we can modify what voice we want, what style.
So earlier, when we were listening to the group, you are all kind of coming from different areas and different businesses. So as I hear you talking about the different AI tools, like if I'm someone who's just starting off, or I'm just like, okay, I do want to start utilizing this in my business, where do I get started figuring out which AI tools would be the best for me to use?
I think it depends on what you want to do.
I would say, I would mirror what I just said, which is Right, take a single creator prompt if you're trying to create a simple email, right, or communication to a customer, and frame that up. There's prompt engineering is a job in and of itself, but even starting with whatever that prompt is, go out to Claude and try it in Claude, go out to Copilot, try it in Copilot, try it in ChatGPT, right? They all have their different versions of the tools.
GPT?
Yeah,
So let me, for those of us to dumb it down a little, so when I Google, what are my AI tools? Like, what are the AI tools? And I answer, hopefully I'm asking a question that other people have too. But, is that where people start? Like literally, I mean, again, fourth grader, let's think about the fourth grader.
Well, when I say what you want to do, let's say someone says, I only want to write or create content. You may not even need to use ChatGPT or Claude. There are specific tools that will do that and then build it their page, and then they will give you all of the SEO boosts. They'll tell you where to hyperlink. They'll tell you deep backlinking. They'll give you all those other things like a Write Sonic or something like that versus I need something for numbers, dollars versus analytics. So yes,
start with what do I need?
Yeah.
Start with what you need, and I would encourage you to check out like Reddit, Substacks, all those things, all those places where all like the intensely, I shouldn't say nerdy people. I shouldn't say that, but like people who really are passionate about this are gonna write about it, and so the odds of being able to say what's the best for whatever, farming, whatever. Somebody will have said something somewhere.
And trade publications, if you read trades for your industry, I know we talked about mainstream media at the beginning, but we work in the B2B space, so we're constantly, that's where we're giving like the meat and potatoes to the sensationalized headlines of practical uses and case studies. And you can see, maybe look for somebody in your industry who's done what you're trying to do and just reverse engineer.
So, if you are on LinkedIn, 𝗧𝗵𝗲 is a great person to follow. She believes to be her and her team are AI first. And she's always going out and just saying, here's what I'm doing, here's what I'm using. And she'll do, she does a lot of daily things on what kind of programs she's using. And, for example, she literally scheduled, creates a schedule of her day going, here are my action items. And then it will actually create a schedule of how much time on her calendar to spend on it. I think she's using 𝗨.AI for that, but she has a whole bunch of different programs that she uses. She just created a LinkedIn class with a handout of a whole bunch of different, for like media or images, here are the AI tools for like text and because there's a lot of different modality for Gen AI. So there's large language models, there's images, video, thank you. I was like, I know there's another, so it really comes down to what do you want to do? Do you have a lot of video or pictures that you want to be able to put into a story? There's AI for that. There, do you want to create pictures and so forth? There's a modal on that. And that might be interesting too to think about. We've been talking about kind of the GPTs, which are large language models, but there's other modals that we just talked about. So they're totally different models. And the new thing is doing multi-modal is another thing called agents as well, which can go across the models and create unique things. So.
Yeah, I've been playing with Grok, so I paid to be a subscriber. It's doing some amazing stuff. And when it comes to subscribing, I usually do annual plans. But with all these AI tools, I'm not doing annual plans. I'm doing maybe a monthly because there's so many things coming out. And the other thing I would say is look into your industry because like I'm a photo and video professional and Adobe Photoshop is doing some amazing stuff. I've created some amazing things with the AI built into Adobe. So look at your professional tools, video editing within the tool itself, not just Sora or something like that. It's just, whoever the leaders are in your industry, they're going to create tools Like for marketing, I use a great tool for marketing, you know, like there's all kinds of tools, so.
I can relate to what you're saying. I use 𝗧𝗵𝗲 for
Yeah.
generating written stuff and then 𝗏𝗏 and.
Yeah. Oh, 𝗏𝗏's amazing.
It is. I love
Yeah.
it.
And Canva.
Yeah.
Canva's
Oh, yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
I just had a ChatGPT write a business case for why I wanted Canva instead of Adobe tools for my instructional designers, because they're not graphic designers, but they have to have design elements in the training. And so because of that, I just had it, and then I just finagled it, so it took me 13 minutes.
Yeah.
I love when you clarified not for graphic designers. My brother was a graphic designer. Every time I mention Canva, he gets me. I
But like some people need icons without the UPS, like it's okay.
Yeah.
It's really okay.
Yeah.
I should mention too, I like to call myself like relationship agnostic in a way, or group agnostic, if that makes sense, but I also participate in another group online, that if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I'll send you an invite for it, but there's a dedicated, like there's like 12 different channels in it, and one of them is dedicated solely to AI. So it'd be an awesome place to come in, and just ask your questions, and it's really like giving, community in that sense, so happy to catch you.
I think to your point, Jennifer, like people don't know where to start. And so what I've had my team do is just have, like dictate what they want from an email they're gonna send to somebody. And I'm like, pretend you have an assistant, it would be really nice if you had an assistant. To tell them what you want this email to say, who's it going to, and what's their role, and why that's important. And I think that's helped with prompt engineering on my team, just to get them familiar with like that basic step of getting started. And agnostic of what tool it is, just to get started with asking prompts, because the clarification and the variables, like what Tara was mentioning, is like one of the most important things to getting what the end result is. But if you just want to get started, that's like one of the easiest ways to get started.
It's a safe way to play too, and I think it comes to develop your voice also, because I know I need to like go and make it sound like me. Because I get stuff from people and I'm like, bro.
As a best practice, and if you have corporate documents, we do in our headers now, if it's a document that's a template for our organization, we put our prompts at the top in that header, so if somebody needs to recreate it, it lives in our template. And then we update it, we update that prompt in it. Well, I mean, we don't have it, it should maybe be more sophisticated in some sort of prompt library, but.
Until that happens, it's better than nothing.
Yeah, it is. It's just still so new, we're like, well, what if this template, like, it's just, it's what it is.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Wendy, have you used it at all in your life?
Yes, we use it for marketing right now. So we use 𝗏𝗏, ChatGPT, Cloud, Canva, you know, all the consumer facing ones, I guess. And then one of the ways I find AI is sometimes I use, for example, I'm on Zoom, right? And then you'll suggest a note from AI app. And I'm like, that is from a notable source, so I'll just take that and try it, yeah.
I was just gonna ask a question about if anybody has a cool tool that we haven't talked about that you use, and I was gonna share Backtrack as one. It's recording backwards software. So like after meetings, oftentimes I'll forget to record something, and I can pull like this little thing down on my browser and it'll record backwards on the call that just happened. It functions like Alexa, so it deletes that, like it's not saving it and sending it out to the public, it just lives on your computer. And then it'll take that transcript, and I always throw that right into ChatGPT to get my, recap summary that I send to the clients. But that's a fun one that saved me countless times.
Zoom has AI built into it, so if you have a paid for version of Zoom, any call that you have, you'll just turn it on, and it'll give you, send you an email in terms of the summary. That's one of the things that actually I had a prospect who approached me, and I went through, they were looking for video editing and social media tools, so I went through kind of to your point, Wayne, which is I'm literally every week I probably have 6 or 7 different tools that I'm doing comparison back and forth, and then trying to identify one better than the other. There are some big name tools that are out there today for video editing, etc., and I actually don't like them. They're too complex. There's some others that have been, that have come out that are better. But it all depends on, where you're, like, meeting you where you're coming into it, right? So I think that first starting point, that's like I said, which is the text-based component of, starting there, that's where most businesses sort of start with and get their introduction to this. I have met some folks that have started with the image side of, how to use the tool, and then of course all of the app developers who are jumping onto things. But it's more complex. It's not the same conversation as a business owner. Okay, I'm trying to figure this out. I like that idea of putting the prompt in the header and hanging on to that, but at the same time too, it's clearly you've done the work to create that formula for creating a prompt, like the system, versus, I took one early Udemy course, udemy.com, which is like, anybody in the world can create a course and put it on there. So I was like, well, I'll listen to this guy, he has 1 million reviews, he was charging $12 to do the math, right? The course was terrible. It was focused on somebody who was already a developer. It was overwhelming. Let me give you a list of 2,200 prompts. I don't even have that many recipes from my grandmother. Right? So nobody's gonna look at that. Like, how many bookmarks do you keep right now on your browser? 8 or 9 that you use regularly, right? So if you don't understand the construct, that's the thing that gets lost. If you don't understand the construct, some of these courses, just because they're popular, there's a lot of studies going on that's saying, less than 3% of all of the users on Gen AI tools are effective users. They're brand new. Gartner came out with that, right? Less than 3%. Now, I don't know about you, but if I had done an implementation of a big tool, unless 3% of the users were using it, I would be fired, right? But, so they pushed out this in masses, everybody signed up. Nobody knows how to use it, except for a small percentage, which is very intriguing to me, right? But over time, with the same thing with the internet, right? They pushed out the internet. We're all like, what's a website? We'll figure it out. Right, yeah, so.
That's if your phone wasn't busy.
Right.
You can't even log on.
Right.
Log your phone.
Yeah, so this is sort of the same experience, which is, that's why we're going through a hype cycle, which people are like, hey, all of the organizations where the big bucks are, where the infrastructure is, where all of those server sites that you see when you drive down 215, right, for storage and data and processing, that's where it's all playing right now. And then we're down at the tail, TAIL, end of this, trying to figure it out. And so I think this is really where the opportunity lies for your organization and all of us to have the conversations. Microsoft did a study and found out that if people talk about new technology, it's better adapted. I'm sure they paid a lot of money for that. It's not a big study, right?
And this episode of Common Sense Reports.
Right, yeah, Common Sense, right? Yeah. So it's really, don't feel like, oh my God, I don't know, I'm gonna break something, I could use it for, I could be wrong.
Yeah. This is
We're all
great.
missing place.
I know we're getting close to the end of our time, and I just wanted to just kind of go around the room and ask the question, because I've written down a whole bunch of things, I'm gonna look this up and do this. What's one tool or thing that you learned, or something you want to try, or something you want to check out, or one question that you're leaving with as a result of being here today? So anybody can shout something out, and I can go ahead.
I don't want to hog everything.
Yeah, hog it. Let's go.
I've got a great just suggestion, because I'm following my own advice here, is start creating your own knowledge base. Because I'm not like a person that wants to be on video and making YouTubes and all that. But the people that have been doing that have a huge data set that they can now feed into AI and have their own knowledge base about what they do. And that's what I'm trying to start creating now, is a knowledge base. It's true to me, like not just regurgitated, Gary Vee or whatever.
Gary Vee.
Because that's what a lot of influencers do, they just regurgitate.
Sorry, I had to
Well, one thing that was, well, first I had a few aha moments, because I was thinking about several processes we're doing in Startup Vegas, and James, you're gonna hear about this later.
Yeah.
James is one of our interns, so. And I'm like, man, why are we doing it this way? We could have used some of these tools and made it easier, so I'm really excited about that. But also, a lot of the tools that we use are more on the content side, and so I'm starting to think about, wait, there are other types of tools that I personally could be using in my life or my other business, and then also Startup Vegas, so that was a big one for me.
One of the really great tools that I use is called Cascade. And it is when you talk about creating your own knowledge base. So I've been using that internally now for just about 2 years. And just to categorize, it has prompts built into it. So yes. And, but it can be either an individual dashboard or you can share it with teams. They've obviously got like different levels of what that thing is, but it can create the electronic folders and groups. So, I have one list that's just Tara, and it's my bio, and copy for a web page, copy for a YouTube video, copy for a podcast, right? All of that kind of thing aggregated, but then I also have like some of my clients' stuff is organized, and then you can just share a particular folder. You can copy items between things, you can see it in different formats. So not only can you see it in a folder structure, you can see it in what's called a Kanban board for any of you who are in project management. Sort of like if you can imagine Post-it notes that are in columns, right, and you can move stuff back and forth. It will create a schedule for you, all kinds of and they're doing agents now, where simply an agent is combining a single task, to create multiple tasks that you have to use. Phenomenal tool, and the support on it is great. They're very responsive for it, so that's something that.
And what's the name again?
Cascade, TASKADE.
So I have a question. So when it comes to content creation and that type of thing, I've been doing that for a little bit, but when it comes to like the legal side of things, whether it's you're creating your contracts for your clients, do you guys have any type of suggestions or AI tools that you would recommend?
Do you want my PR response? Absolutely. We are really careful with any proprietary information. In fact, we have a best practice, none of that is shared. We have 2 clients where we cannot use AI for anything. So I would say if it was something you are not comfortable with the public seeing, that should not go into anything.
That's good to know, thank you.
I had a conversation with a friend of mine who works. He mentioned private AI. Yeah.
We just can't.
But I'm sure there's legal, but just for people who don't, I think it's a big concern, especially enterprises are really scared of. Like the list you're sharing, there are a lot of companies that are very protective of this. And are afraid of uploading these to these large language models. So controlling your data and not letting it out there is definitely a kind of concern.
Some of the, but keep in mind, right, so Google, Databricks, Sarah probably thinks some other ones, right? They basically now can provide an encrypted, what's called a container, which is where your data resides on the cloud that's protected. And then they're beginning to layer over the model of the public model over your own data. That's available now. Technology is available now. It's very expensive. Right? Plus the other thing though too is, and even with our organization, right? I approached them almost 9 months ago. I'm like, hey, we should have an employee group around AI. And they went, not yet. But keep in mind, like this technology exists now, but arguably, would I just want to take my own data and put it in there? It will be just my voice, but often what you're looking for is a broader perspective on things, right? So it's working with those tools to determine what can you sanitize, what can you not, what can you leverage from this. This is an augmentation tool. There will be some industries that go full, look, they're gonna go full bore, if can't remember what investment firm it was, they got rid of all of their cash manager folks because they figure out they can do it with AI, right? They get rid of a whole division of a bunch of interns who were otherwise making phone calls and analyzing profiles, et cetera. They figured out how to do that. But there will still be, small business will be around. I don't know about you, but I don't want to go to my local Chinese restaurant and have a robot be making my food for me, right? McDonald's and Carl's Jr. and all those guys tried that with automated AI. The problem was that it couldn't recognize the voice the right way, and they were trying to put pickles on, you know, I was
On my kid.
So it's not, there are technology exists, and a robot may be able to flip from hamburger, right? But there will be some places, the question is whether that's gonna ultimately work long-term. And I still think, you know, small business in America, that space is the individual touch, the high touch point. People buy from people. There will be different generations, kids who will buy from a machine. I'm old school, right? I want to look in somebody's eyes. I want to see them nod their head or say no, you know, for whatever that is and what that conversation is. But trial and testing and seeing if you have a particular process that you're repeating over and over and over again and it's a drudge, maybe that's a good candidate to look at for could AI apply to this. You know, is it dirty? That's a good place to apply. Is it hazardous? That's another good place for AI. You know, I'd rather have a robot going to, you know, I think about like our military, trying to, you know, clear a minefield, right? You'd rather let a robot do that than human beings, those types of things. So those are kind of the plays where that works well, but within your own business, if you have a task that you just rely on and it's repetitive, that's a good candidate for that.
Any other questions or takeaways or thoughts?
I think one of my biggest takeaways, thank you, happened early on, was like, holy shit, why am I not using this for fundraising?
Right?
Yeah, so the
That's
whole, yeah, all that just, that blew, not that everything else was about.
You're gonna have so much fun.
That was my nugget where I was like, okay, I can go.
I was just saying.
I'm saying, I'm so excited, so yeah, I'm excited to come back also and like share what happens.
I was just gonna ask you, I wanna know, if you're like, listen, I got 100 different
Oh,
reaches at 80% response rate and we secured more money.
Totally, I love a good success story, especially when it's mine to tell.
Yeah.
As I just got roped into helping write a grant for a foundation here in town.
Yeah, and help nonprofits, if we can figure out a system that
Yes.
should help nonprofits so that people can.
And it's a big raise, so I'm like, oh, okay, no pressure, thanks.
Yeah.
Honestly, that would be amazing, so I also know about this space too as well. And how we're doing tracking. So the communication side of things, so like, anything, always like, shoot that my way.
Yeah, let's connect after this and we'll, yeah.
You bet your competition is gonna be using it for grant writing, for sure, absolutely.
I actually have an email out at the NSTC or SBDC, sorry, I have so many acronyms. Because I went through their whole thing, since I've, you know, as the SBA space, was always telling small businesses, hey, there's all these things that are funded by the SBA and they're at no cost to you, and I'm like, well, here I am gonna use it.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, Caitlin does grant writing, but she's out of office till the 22nd, so.
Of course.
That's right. Great. Well, I want to give Laura and Sarah one last, before to wrap things up and then no. Well, I just want to thank you both. And I want to thank everybody for participating because I think the conversation was great because we had all of your different experiences and questions and thoughts. And I learned so much, so I'm like really jazzed. So I'm like you, but I'm not sure if the
I feel it.
I've been up since like 5, so maybe with coffee, I'll just show them. But I want to thank you both because your perspectives were awesome and just also the knowledge, and we just appreciate you being here and leading our conversation. So thank you.
And I would encourage all of you, if you're not on the Startup Vegas Slack channel, to join the Slack channel. Maybe we should have it on Slack. Anyway, to Slack channel so that we can keep in touch and then also have conversations, ask questions. It's a really great community, and hopefully you're also following us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Meetup, and YouTube, because this has been live streamed. So you can look at all of our past events for the last couple months that we've been live streaming, and then also some founder interviews and good stuff like that. So thank you so much. Please eat food and take it with you. If you have a friend, a child, a buddy, or somebody who likes sandwiches and chips, we don't want to take back. So please do that. Thanks for that.
Thank you.
Tara, let's look at that. I was
I think those are the,